So if you want to implement CRM or SRM, no need to go for the separate server. You can use it within the same system, S4HANA system. And that is the reason if you want to use everything in one single box, then definitely the business partner has to be created if you want to use CRM, if you want to use SRM, right? That is the reason
Okay.
SAP came up with this option of creating the business partner for each and every customer and vendor. Saying that, again, even in S4 HANA, you can say I'm not using SRM, CRM. In that case, or maybe your question can be, I just want to do the MM and SD related transactions. So shall I use a business
Yeah.
partner? The answer is no, because previously also business partner was only created for CRM and SRM.
Sure. Yes.
Now, if I want to use basic core processes in MM and SD, definitely I don't need to worry about the business partner. I can continue doing my transactions using vendor number, but when it comes to the vendor, I cannot create a vendor without the business partner assignment. So I am just creating a business partner because it is technically mandatory. But otherwise, functional use as of now, if I'm not using SRM and CRM, I'm not going to use business partner from the functionality point of view. I will continue to use the vendor and the customer number for all MMSD FI related transactions.
Okay. So you mean to say like to bring the functionalities of CRM and SRM into the ECC like into ECC. So we are going with the business partner.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Just I have a clarification. Without business
Yes,
partner, you can't do any vendor, right? Because when you go to the existing ECC system to create a customer or a vendor, it is going to take you here. So technically, whether CRM or SRM is irrelevant. I think with HANA, I could see that without BP, you can't proceed anywhere. Without how will I create a new vendor in this scenario? If I go to a normal ECC box, you will be able to create a vendor, but in HANA, it takes you the BP, right?
right.
That's my understanding. So technically, it is mandatory, whether you implement whatever it is. SRM and CRM is irrelevant because previously they had that middleware. I think they are abolished this middleware and bought everything in one suite. But business partner as part of S4HANA, my understanding looks like without that, you can't create both customer and vendor.
Exactly. It will not allow you to create a vendor or
Yes.
customer if the business partner is not created. So technically, it is mandatory to create a business partner, and once the business partner is created, only then you will be able to extend that business partner to vendor or customer or both.
Where do I put the bank account details over here? Because in BP you have their own bank account place, but in vendor master we
Bank
can
account details, yeah, bank account details you'll be able to enter in the general data
the
itself.
payment. Okay, so it's,
This is
it's sitting in the BP and the header, right? Yeah, so it is sitting in the BP only. Okay, thanks. That's no change to the existing BP anyway.
no. See, even the fields, if you see internally, if you have understood how exactly the ECC works, if you see the fields, okay, so let me, this is a vendor that we created just now. If you see the fields internally, if I go to company code data, all the fields, they were there in ECC also. Only thing is they were available in FK01.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no change. If you see from this point onwards, just forget about this upper point. This is nothing but the common master data that we were creating in ECC using FK01. Right?
Okay.
So all the other fields which were
Yeah.
there in ECC, they are still there in S4HANA also.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we need to understand two things. Number one, how
I
this
have one
business
more
partner.
question. One more question. Sorry to interrupt. How does this
Go
work
ahead.
with MDM? Because some companies use MDM where a centralized master data is created, right? So we have a direct interface to create this. Is it in that scenario?
Uh, Raj, I think let's keep that discussion separate because the
Okay.
thing is, I think there are few guys who are completely beginners, so for them it would be
Okay.
very difficult to digest all these things. But yes, let's do one thing. We will complete the session, and then we will give some time for the experienced guys to ask those questions which are relevant to the like little bit of knowledge if you already have on ECC.
Okay, sorry. Thanks. Yeah.
No problem, no problem, Raj. Okay, so now two things that we need to understand. Number one, how system determined this business partner number. Okay, so let me take you to creation of another business partner, another vendor. If you remember last time I selected this 0001. Okay, now question is, if I want to create my own groupings, okay, these are all the groupings which are appearing which were there already. Okay, or maybe someone who is practicing on the server, they might have created. But if I want to create my own groupings, how to do that? And before we go to that, how to create the groupings, first of all, why should we create the groupings? How will you decide how many groupings should be created for a particular customer whenever you are going for the implementation project? Okay, so just remember, when it comes to creation of vendors, when you go to the companies, when you implement SAP for some of the companies, you have to understand how they want to differentiate their different kinds of vendors. I'll just give you one example. So we are implementing this for Reliance Chemicals. This is our RECH, is our company which for where we are implementing SAP. Let's assume this company has told us that there are different kind of vendors. Okay, different types of vendors. Okay, let's say number one is domestic. I'm keeping it very simple, but normally it depends upon the industry where the company is working. But at least this 2-3 types which I'm creating, you will find almost everywhere. Almost every company is having different types of vendors. At least these are the different types of vendors that every company will have. They want to segregate their domestic vendors, they want to segregate their foreign vendors, and they want to segregate their intercompany vendors. So Abhilash, you asked for STO. So normally STO vendors are created as intercompany vendors. Okay, so they will be created as this type of vendors, intercompany. Now, in addition to this, if you want to have a separate service vendors, so this domestic and foreign vendors are providing you materials. These service vendors are only providing you the services, right? So let's assume these are the different types of vendors that your customer has asked you to differentiate. How can you differentiate them in SAP? Do we have any kind of vendor types in SAP? We don't have any system settings where we can say vendor types, but we have the system in SAP which is called as vendor account groups. So if you want to differentiate different vendors in SAP, what we do is we create different account groups. Okay, so based on the requirement of the customer, if a customer says I want to segregate all these different types of vendors, what we recommend him to go for the different account groups. How can we create these account groups now? So in order to create the account groups, you will go to IMG. Okay, this is a vendor account group creation, and vendor creation is a joint responsibility normally because it is created at FI also and purchasing also. So normally it comes under financial accounting. The groupings I'm talking about, creation of groupings. When you are working on the project, as I told you, it is a joint responsibility. So maybe you can provide the information to the FI consultant and they will be creating the account groups for you. Or maybe the FI consultants will ask you to create it on your own. So that totally depends upon the responsibility which is given to FI and MM consultant. But ultimately, it is created under financial accounting, account receivables and payables. You can see vendor accounts. If you open the vendor accounts, master data, preparation for creating the vendor master data. Okay, if you open this, you can see define the different account groups with screen layout. Okay, I'll tell you what are screen layouts. So this is a place where you will be able to create multiple different groups, vendor account groups. Okay, so simple, if I want to create these 4 vendor account groups, what I'll do is I have to provide 4-digit codes. So let's say I'm starting with R. R means Reliance, in our case, DOM. R, FOR, RINT for intercompany, and RSER. So these are the four groups I want to create. Let's see if these numbers are available. If someone has already used the code, then you have to change your code. So first is RDOM. This is, I will say, domestic vendors for RECH, which is Reliance Chemicals. Okay, press enter. You can see an entry already exists. Someone has already used this RDOM. So maybe RDO1. Okay, so you have to provide the unique code. See, this is a test system. So everyone is creating their own account groups. But when it comes to the real-time system, when you are working on the production system of the client, there you will be only able to find only minimum account groups are created. Okay, and that is the reason you have to provide the unique code which is not already being used. So RDO1 is my first account group. You provide the code, you provided the description, and now again you can provide the field status. Okay, I told you whenever you are creating a vendor, which field is mandatory, which field is optional. Okay, all these things can be controlled from this vendor account groups itself. Okay, so for example, it is asking you which information is mandatory in the general data. These are the three segments that we discussed. General data segment, which consists of name and address information, company code data, which includes the financial information of a vendor, purchasing data, which is related to the related data of a particular vendor. Right. So for example, if I go to company code data in account management, you will find some of the fields are mandatory, some of the fields are optional. Okay, if you want to make a particular field mandatory, for example, I want to make the reconciliation account field mandatory. I can come here and I can say required field. Just remember, this is also a very important question in exam. What are the different types of field controls? So one is suppress. Suppress means completely hidden. This field will not appear at all. Second is required, which means user has to provide this value. If he is missing it, system will throw error. Third one is optional, which is mostly used in all the cases. You can see optional means it is up to the user whether he wants to input the values or not. And last one is display. Display means it will not allow you to change. It will just show you whatever values is available. It will not allow you to change. Okay, so as of now, I am making reconciliation account field as mandatory field in my account group RD01. Let's try to save it. Okay, so this is how I have created the new account group. Okay, if you want to change even sort key, because these are the normal two fields which we keep mandatory. So I'll come to the sort key also and make it mandatory. Let's save it. So like this, I can create 4 different account groups which are required. So I can again start with the new entry, or even I can copy this. I can copy this, click on this RD01 and click on the copy as button. So this is for foreign. I'll say RFOR, and here I'll say this is FOREGHN. Okay, so foreign vendors for RECH. If you see the company code data, it is already copied. So it will show you the same thing that we managed in our first account group. Okay, let's save it. So now we have 2 account groups which are already created. Let me save it properly. Let it already saved. Okay, same way, if you want to continue, you want to create another one. Again, I'll copy. So this is, let's say, for intercompany vendors. I'll write RINT. This is interco. Okay, intercompany vendors for RECH. Enter. This is already used. Again, I have to provide some other code. So I'm saying RIN1. Enter and save it. And the last one that I'll use is R service for the service vendors. So depending upon how many types of vendors customers wants to